Hey guys, welcome to episode number 42. It's Friday, so welcome to Fan Friday. Today we're going to talk a little bit about drilling tanks. I got a request from Saint Stackhouse on YouTube, who was wondering about drilling tanks. I guess he was a little unsure of it. And I mean, there are plenty of videos out there that describe exactly how to drill a tank. I've watched them and followed them, and I actually drilled this tank somewhat successfully a few months back. You'll see that there was a little bit of chipping down here, so I needed to add a little bit of silicone so I could make a tight seal here. Otherwise, there was water leaking from there, but the chip wasn't big enough to cause any structural damage to the tank, and the water level is so low in this tank that it ended up not mattering. So I did drill that tank successfully. I've heard a lot of people say that you shouldn't try to drill a tank that's less than 10 gallons. Actually, a lot of people who drill 10-gallon tanks end up breaking them, and that's just because the glass is so thin, and there's really no way around that. Even if you're really careful, there's always going to be a risk of breaking it. So I would recommend going out and watching some of the other videos that are online on YouTube about drilling a tank, just so that you kind of get the gist of what's going on and the steps that are involved to make sure that you're successful. One thing that I do see a lot on videos that I don't like seeing is that people drill in the air. And what I mean by that is they take their tank and they set it up on its side and they just go freehand and they drill a hole into the tank. Some people don't even have anything to catch the glass from below. And what I would say is don't attempt that. I think the better option is to actually tape the inside here wherever you're planning on cutting, so that the glass isn't going to go anywhere, and then fully supporting this entire pane of glass with something that's going to hold the weight of the tank, and make sure that the pressure from the drill is being evenly distributed across the entire pane of glass, and even going so far as to use a rubber pad on that surface to make sure that that the pane of glass is fully supported. That way, the glass isn't going anywhere. It's not going to move anywhere, and you have less of a chance of cracking the glass or chipping the glass when you do go to drill it. Obviously, get a high quality hole saw, diamond hole saw. It kind of sucks, but the more you spend on a hole saw, probably the longer it's going to last. And I say that because there are varying degrees of quality in hole saws. The ones that are really cheaply constructed just don't have a whole lot of diamond material at the top, and if the hole saw gets hot at all, everything just melts, and you lose your diamond. And depending on the abrasiveness of the diamond itself and the material that you're drilling, and how fast you go, and the temperature of the water that you have pooled around it, can kind of determine how long it's going to last. I think I bought these for like $15 each, maybe $20 each, and that's really on the low end. So I wouldn't expect these to drill more than 5 or 10 tanks maybe before they go dull. And you'll know when they go dull because every hole you drill is going to cause your tank to crack, or you're just not going to be able to drill anymore. Here are some bulkheads. I know in my last video I installed one of these into plastic, which is a heck of a lot easier than glass, but the basic gist of this is you insert this, and you keep your rubber gasket on the inside of the tank, and then you put that through your hole, and then you screw this down really tight. You can even use a little bit of silicone to make sure that you have a good seal, and you're good to go. And that's what I've got up here. But what I wanted to talk about just real quick is something that I've been thinking about in terms of how I would go about drilling glass, especially if I had a lot of tanks to drill. And what I came up with is just a glass drill jig. And what that would be is no more going freehand. I would go straight to a professional drill press, and those have a lot of pressure, and actually that's exactly what you don't want, which is kind of funny. But as long as you have the drill on a very slow speed, and as long as you have a light feather pressure, just one tip of one finger holding that hole saw in place on your glass, you should be able to cut in the same spot every single time, and be able to apply the drill bit exactly straight and exactly flush on the glass every single time. When people go freehand, a lot of times they go in on one side and then they even out and they go in completely. But what that causes is one side of the glass to break through before the other, and when that happens, you're always going to chip the tank. You want a hole that is so precise that every single time you drill, you're even all the way around on the hole. And the reason people do that, the reason they start on one side, is because they don't want any skating. They don't want the drill bit to kind of wander, because that just scratches the entire surface of your tank. So with larger tanks, what people do is they start on the edge and then they go flat. But with a drill press, you don't have to worry about it going anywhere, because your tank would be securely in place and your drill isn't going anywhere either. So you're going to cut the same hole every single time. And so what I just did is I kind of sketched out what I was thinking. Obviously, I'd insert my hole saw into the drill press, and then I would build a jig, which is represented in the red here, so that I could just slide a tank onto the stand for the drill press, giving me the entire surface of the tank positioned on the surface of the drill press. And I would use a rubber pad to make sure that the entire surface, that top surface, is supported. But basically what I have here is like angle brackets on the bottom to support the bottom of the tank, on the top to lock the tank securely into place, and then have some sort of legs here that stick out that you stick the tank onto, to support that entire pane of glass as it rests on the top of the drill press. And I don't have a drill press to test this out on. I know they aren't that expensive at Home Depot, but I also don't have the tanks or the projects to warrant something like this yet. But if anyone's out there wondering, gee, how do I cut 20 holes into 20 tanks and do it exactly the same way without breaking any of them, I think this would probably be a good place to start thinking. And I guess the only other thing that I didn't really cover was the putty. I got this plumber's putty. It's pretty helpful stuff. You can just pop it open and make a dam around the area that you're planning on cutting. And then just have water flowing constantly into the dam and out of the dam, so that your water is as cold as possible when you're drilling. Because one of the quickest ways to dull a hole saw is to heat the surface there, because then the glue that's holding the diamond in place gives way, and then you're grinding metal against glass, and that doesn't do you any good. But anyways, that's where I would start. If you're thinking about seriously drilling glass. I'm not quite sure how they do it professionally, but I would assume that they don't do it freehand, and that the best guess I have in terms of doing it consistently would be something like a drill press. And this would be great to set up if if you were setting up like a tank rack, for instance, and you wanted an overflow on every single tank. This would be great. So, make sure that you watch other people's videos on how they drill glass, and hopefully you'll kind of, get a technique down and learn enough from other people's mistakes in order to drill yours successfully. I must have watched 20 videos before I drilled this one hole, so it definitely is worth it because cracking tanks is no fun, especially if they're new. So try it out on old tanks if you have them, just to practice on, or even just sheet glass works as well. Just make sure that you're at least 3/4 of an inch. I would even go up to a full inch from any of the edges. And if you're working with tempered glass, a lot of the larger aquariums have tempered glass, especially in the bottom. Be sure not to drill that because you'll shatter the bottom. But other than that, have at it. Just make sure you know what you're doing. And if anyone has a drill press, I'd love to see a jig. So let me know. Alright guys, see you later.